In the bustling city of Lagos, a young woman named Adaeze went for a job interview at a prestigious company, Golden Future Enterprises. As she sat in the boss's office, she noticed a picture of her mother, Chiamaka, on the boss's desk. Shocked, Adaeze learned that the boss, Olumide, was her long-lost father. Olumide had been separated from Chiamaka many years ago due to family pressures, and he never knew he had a daughter. Now, after years of searching, Olumide and Adaeze were finally reunited. They left the office together, with hopes of healing their broken family. As Adaeze and Olumide walked out of the office, the sun bathed the city in a golden hue. The bustling sounds of Lagos surrounded them, but their minds were consumed with the emotional whirlwind of their unexpected reunion. "Your mother has been through so much," Olumide said quietly, breaking the silence. "I owe her an apology, and I want to make things right." Adaeze looked at him, her eyes filled with a mix of emotions. She never spoke much about her past, but I always sensed there was something missing, she replied softly. "Now I understand why." They continued walking, their footsteps echoing on the pavement as they headed toward the neighborhood where Chiamaka lived. Olumide was deep in thought, wondering how Chiamaka would react to seeing him again after all these years. As they approached the modest house near the market, Adaeze felt a surge of nervousness. She had no idea how her mother would react to seeing Olumide, the man who had unknowingly left her to raise their child alone. The small gate creaked as Adaeze pushed it open. The familiar scent of flowers from the small garden greeted them as they walked toward the front door. Adaeze knocked gently, her heart pounding. The door opened slowly, and there stood Chiamaka, her face lined with years of hard work and quiet strength. Her eyes widened in surprise as she saw her daughter standing next to a man she had not seen in decades. "Adaeze, who is this?" Chiamaka asked, her voice tinged with confusion. Adaeze hesitated for a moment, then spoke. "Mama, this is Olumide. He's my father." Chiamaka's breath caught in her throat as she looked at Olumide, her past rushing back to her in a wave of emotions. Her eyes filled with tears as she tried to process the sight before her, the man she had once loved, standing before her again, alongside their daughter. Olumide took a step forward, his voice trembling with emotion. "Chiamaka, I have searched for you for so long. I never stopped thinking about you, and I am so sorry for everything. I know I can never undo the past, but I want to be here for you and Adaeze now." Chiamaka stood silent for a moment, her mind racing with memories of their love, their separation, and the years she had spent raising Adaeze on her own. She had never imagined this day would come, and she struggled to find the right words. Finally, Chiamaka spoke, her voice calm but firm. "Olumide, you hurt me deeply when you left, and it took everything in me to raise Adaeze alone. But I see that you are sincere, and I know that our daughter deserves to know her father. We cannot change the past, but perhaps we can build something new from here." Olumide nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I understand, Chiamaka. I just want to be here for both of you now, in any way I can." Adaeze, standing between her parents, felt a sense of hope. She had always dreamed of having a complete family, and now, though the circumstances were complicated, that dream was within reach. Chiamaka stepped aside, allowing them into the house. As they entered, the atmosphere was filled with the weight of unspoken words and unhealed wounds, but also with the possibility of forgiveness and new beginnings. The three of them sat down in the small living room, the evening sun casting long shadows on the walls. They talked for hours about the past, about the future, and about how they could move forward as a family. As the night deepened, Adaeze realized that while the road ahead would not be easy, It was one worth traveling. With her mother and father by her side, she felt a sense of completeness she had never known before. And so, the journey of healing and reconciliation began, with the promise of a brighter future guiding their steps. The days following the reunion were filled with a mixture of joy, tension, and uncertainty. Alumaid visited often, trying to make up for lost time, and to understand the life Chiamaka and Adaeze had built without him. He brought small gifts for Adaeze, hoping to bond with her, and offered to help Chiamaka in any way he could. Yet, the years of separation had left scars that could not be easily healed. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the modest home, Alumaid arrived with a special request. He had been thinking deeply about the future and had an idea that he hoped would bring the family closer. Adaeze, Chiamaka, Alumaid began as they sat together in the living room. I've been thinking a lot about everything about us. I know I've missed so much, but I want to make things right, to be a real father to Adaeze, and to support both of you. I've been considering a move, a fresh start for all of us. Chiamaka looked at him, her brow furrowed. What do you mean, Alumaid? I've been planning to expand my business, and I was thinking of starting a new branch in Abuja. It's a growing city, full of opportunities. I'd like to move there, and, if you're willing, I want you both to come with me. We can start a new life together, as a family. Adaeze's eyes widened at the thought. Abuja, the capital of Nigeria, was a bustling metropolis with so much potential. It was a chance to leave behind the pain of the past and embrace a new beginning. But the idea of leaving Lagos, the only home she had ever known, was daunting. Chiamaka, however, was more cautious. Alumaid, that's a big step. Abuja is far from here, and starting over at our age is not easy. Besides, what about Adaeze's education and my work here? I've built a life for us in Lagos. I'm not sure we're ready to uproot everything. Alumaid nodded, understanding her concerns. I know it's a lot to ask, but I believe this could be the fresh start we all need. Adaeze can continue her education in one of the best schools in Abuja, and I can help you find new work, or even start something of your own. I just want us to be together. Adaeze, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke up. Mama, I know this is sudden, but maybe it's worth considering. I've always dreamed of us being a family, and this could be our chance. I don't want us to be separated again. Chiamaka looked at her daughter, seeing the hope in her eyes. It was clear that Adaeze longed for a sense of completeness that had been missing from their lives. Chiamaka's heart softened, but she was still unsure. I need some time to think about this, Chiamaka said after a pause. This decision affects all of us, and I want to make sure it's the right one. Alumaid agreed, not wanting to rush her. Take all the time you need. I just want you both to know that my offer stands, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this work. Over the next few weeks, the idea of moving to Abuja lingered in the air. Chiamaka and Adaeze discussed it at length, weighing the pros and cons. The thought of leaving behind the familiar streets of Lagos was difficult, but the promise of a new life together as a family was tempting. One evening, as they sat together watching the sunset, Chiamaka finally made her decision. She turned to Adaeze, who was gazing out at the horizon, her thoughts far away. Adaeze, I've been thinking a lot about what your father said. I've lived my whole life in Lagos, and it's hard to imagine starting over somewhere else. But I see how much this means to you, and I want you to have the chance to experience something new. If you want to go to Abuja, then I'm willing to give it a try. Adaeze turned to her mother, her eyes shining with gratitude. Thank you, Mama. I know it's not easy for you, but I believe this could be the start of something wonderful for all of us. with the decision made. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of preparations. Abuja made arrangements for their move, securing a new home, and ensuring that everything was in place for their new life in Abuja. Chiamaka said her goodbyes to friends and neighbors, while Adaeze packed her belongings, excited yet nervous about what lay ahead. The day of the move arrived, and as they drove away from Lagos, leaving behind the city that had been their home for so long, Adaeze felt a mix of emotions: sadness for what they were leaving behind, but also a sense of hope for the future. As they arrived in Abuja, the bustling city welcomed them with open arms. The streets were filled with life, and the air was thick with the promise of new beginnings. Their new home was spacious and filled with light, a stark contrast to the small house they had left behind in Lagos. Abuja wasted no time in helping them settle in. He showed Adaeze around the city, introducing her to her new school and the places she could explore. Chiamaka, though still adjusting, began to see the potential of their new life. She started to find joy in the little things: the fresh start, the new opportunities, and the chance to build a future together as a family. As the days turned into weeks, the bond between Abuja, Chiamaka, and Adaeze grew stronger. They shared meals, laughter, and stories, making up for lost time and creating new memories. The wounds of the past slowly began to heal, replaced by the warmth of love and the joy of being together. One evening, as they sat on the balcony of their new home, watching the sun set over the city, Adaeze turned to her parents with a smile. "I'm glad we came here," she said softly. "I feel like we're finally where we're meant to be." Abuja and Chiamaka exchanged a glance, their hearts full of gratitude. They had been through so much, but they had found their way back to each other. And now, in this new city, they were building a life together, a life filled with love, hope, and the promise of a brighter future. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, they sat together, content and at peace, knowing that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together as a family. Life in Abuja began to take on a comfortable rhythm for Adaeze, Chiamaka, and Abuja. Their new home was not just a physical space, but a symbol of their journey toward healing and reconciliation. Adaeze thrived in her new school, making friends and excelling in her studies. Chiamaka, though initially hesitant about the move, started a small catering business from home, sharing her love of cooking with the local community. Abuja, ever the businessman, was busy with his new branch, but he made sure to spend quality time with his family, making up for the years they had lost. As the months passed, the family grew closer, sharing joys, challenges, and everything in between. The wounds of the past were slowly healing, replaced by the warmth of new memories. One weekend, Abuja surprised the family with a trip to a serene resort just outside Abuja. He wanted to celebrate how far they had come as a family, and to show Chiamaka and Adaeze how much they meant to him. The resort was nestled in the hills, surrounded by lush greenery and a peaceful atmosphere. It was the perfect escape from the bustling city life. As they arrived, Adaeze's eyes lit up with excitement at the sight of the sparkling pool, the cozy cottages, and the beautiful landscape that stretched as far as the eye could see. "This place is amazing, Dad," Adaeze exclaimed, hugging Abuja. "I thought you'd like it." Abuja smiled, ruffling her hair. "I wanted us to have a special time together, away from everything." Chiamaka smiled, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't felt in years. "Thank you, Abuja. This is exactly what we needed." The weekend was filled with laughter, relaxation, and bonding. They went on nature walks, explored the local culture, and spent hours by the pool, enjoying the warm sunshine. In the evenings, They gathered around a fire, sharing stories and dreams for the future. One evening, as they sat under the stars, Olumide took Chiamaka's hand, looking into her eyes with a seriousness that caught her by surprise. "Chiamaka," he began softly, "I've been thinking a lot about us, about everything we've been through. I know I hurt you deeply, and I'll never forgive myself for that, but I'm so grateful that you've allowed me back into your life, into Adaze's life. Being here with both of you feels like a second chance, a chance to do things right." Chiamaka listened, her heart full of emotions. She could see the sincerity in Olumide's eyes, and it touched her deeply. "I've forgiven you, Olumide," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "What's important now is that we move forward, as a family. We can't change the past, but we can shape our future." Olumide nodded, his heart swelling with gratitude. "I want that future with you, Chiamaka. I want us to be a real family, not just in name, but in every sense, and I'm ready to take whatever steps it takes to make that happen." Adaeze, who had been listening quietly, smiled at the sight of her parents reconnecting. She had always longed for this, a family where love and understanding flowed freely, where they could face the world together. As the night grew darker, the three of them sat in silence, taking in the beauty of the moment and the peace that came with it. They knew that the journey ahead would still have its challenges, but they also knew that they had the strength to face them together. The next morning, as they prepared to leave the resort and return to their life in Abuja, Olumide gathered Chiamaka and Adaeze in a warm embrace. "I'm so proud of both of you," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "We've come a long way, and I'm excited for all the good things that are yet to come." Chiamaka and Adaeze smiled, their hearts full of hope and contentment. They had found each other again, and with that, they had found a new sense of purpose and happiness. As they drove back to Abuja, the road ahead seemed brighter than ever. They were no longer just individuals trying to make sense of their past. They were a family, united in their love and commitment to one another, and that, they knew, was the most important thing of all.